Why are you guys such a good rebounding team?
Because number one, it's, if you walk into our facility, you know that it's important to us. It's what we're about. It's been this program's identity. You look at, and because David Moats is in charge of it, when you put Red in charge of something, it gets done at the highest level. So that's two pretty good answers. And then, we've recruited guys that are coachable and that are unselfish and that want to rebound and want to do things to help this team. And they also know that you're not going to play if you don't rebound. I don't care who you are. And it's what, we coach it and we work hard at it. And it's, you get good at what you emphasize, and boy, do we emphasize that. You get good at what you measure, and boy, do we measure it. Countless hours goes into film analysis and all the things that we have to do to get better at it. And, it's been something that I've done. That was what I was in charge of at Gonzaga. One of the things I was, passionate about. And, we were number one in the nation in rebound margin one year. So it's just always been something that I think is really important. And I think it's it can be a difference maker in games. And it certainly was in our last one.
You guys missed 26 shots in the paint in the last game. A lot of like bunnies and short shots. Did you just chalk that up for an off night, or was there just
no, that's all part of the rebounding plan.
There was like 3 or 4 possessions where I think you had, or a couple of times where you had like 3 or 4 on one play.
Yeah, it was Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes. I think those, who was the best at that? Was it Wes Unseld, known for that kind of, that
had in his stats?
Maybe just get 6 offense rebounds on 6 straight misses, where missed, got it back, missed, got it back. So that was, but that's, I don't know. I don't want to say it's a cliche in coaching, but you talk about that. You're like, our defense and our rebound is going to win us a game when the weird things happen and the ball just won't go in. And you go on the road and those are going to happen. And you have to be good at the things that we talked about that we were good at, and to win those games. And that certainly was the case.
And on the other side, I mean, you guys still rank, I think, top 10 in terms of defensive rebounding and not giving up offensive rebounds for the most part. How important, we saw how demoralizing it was for New Mexico. I mean, how big is that for you guys on the other end to be able to not give up second chance points and not give teams other possessions?
Well, it's huge. And I'm still mad. We gave them 4 points off missed free throw rebounds. One of them was just goofy. We just tipped it to them. And, the other one, we didn't get a strong enough block out, but we do that. And now they only get 1 offensive rebound in all their offensive possessions, because the other 2 were, like I said, were free throws. So I'm mad about those 2.
Is that a big deal though? Or how big is that for your defense, the defensive rebounding side of it?
You can't be a defensive team without good rebounding. You really can't be, because that's so much of completing the possession and finishing the job is to be able to rebound and do your job. And also, that's what I always tell these guys. It's one of the most unselfish things you can do, is doing your job on defense. And, the other thing that this team's creating amongst themselves, it's hard to put up a lot of numbers as far as getting boards on this team. And, E-Man, against Nevada, he was the best he's ever been. And I think he only got 2 rebounds, because you're fighting your teammates for him too. And because when you got a bunch of guys that are going, there's only a finite number of rebounds that are to be had. And we're seeing that on this team a little bit. Everybody's doing their job, but it's competitive to go get it.
And final thing for me, just to clarify, is David Moats really in charge of the rebounding?
Yeah, he's, because of his position as director of operations, he coaches me. Like he does a lot of the statistical analysis for me, and, all the time. I mean, it takes a lot of time to, be able to analyze film and, all the things that go into it about guys doing their jobs. And we have a whole system that we do. And, he really, really does an unbelievable job of coaching me.
Rachel?
Because, I got a bunch of things I'm trying to process, and I can't spend 5 hours a day with all the specifics that go into processing that, the time that it requires to do it.
Marcus Shaver has obviously been a model of consistency for you guys, scoring in double figures in 14 of 15 games, but he doesn't rank in the top 10 in 3-point percentage or field goal percentage just because he doesn't have enough shots. So it's kind of like he doesn't get as much recognition as he should. So how important has his play kind of been for you guys recently?
Oh, he's been huge, and he's heading, in the direction of that we envisioned. After watching him through that redshirt year, I just know how gifted he is offensively, and you can't just say offensively. He's a great defender too. He doesn't get the credit he deserves on that end either. No, he's huge, and to have a guy that can make, great scorers can make those tough shots where they shoot it and you're all thinking, oh, that's too tough, and whack, he makes it. Every great scorer I've ever coached, and Marcus has that ability, and good teams need that guy that can go against good defense, and it's that was perfect defense but just better offense, and he's had a lot of those possessions. So he's huge for us.
The TV broadcast brought this up, so I can't take credit for it, but his movement
Steve Lavin?
I think it was Steve, but how much is his movement away from the ball, critical to getting his open shots and kind of coming off those screens? And
it's all connected. It's the players getting him the ball. It's the guys setting him screens. It's the guys knowing when he's going to be open. And then it's him being comfortable knowing where that shot's coming from. And I think that's what we're getting more and more comfortable with as we go forward.
Bob?
Coach, I want to follow up on BJ's question about rebounding. Why do you think you get more? Are you guys better positioned? Are you tougher? What would you say would be the biggest reason you guys out-rebound your opponent?
Number one is, I think we get guys that first, it has to be really important to them. And then secondly, they have to do their jobs. And when they all do their jobs, that's how we get them. And, so that part's really connected too, because it's a whole system of what we do. And if somebody breaks down and doesn't do their job in the system, then it's no good.
You guys have won 8 out of 10 against Air Force. So on the 8 games that you've won, what has generally big picture gone well? And in the 2 games that you guys have lost to Air Force, what big picture generally has gone poorly?
Well, when you're scouting them, I didn't go back 10 games. So, but with them, they're probably one that, like you look throughout the league, and I sure couldn't do that with like New Mexico, because it's a new coach, new system, new. I couldn't do that with most teams in our league. But, Dave was there for, 11 years, maybe, was he? And before him, it was kind of the same system. And now it's the same system with Joe Scott. So if there's any team that I could go back 20 games probably, and those statistics would tell me a lot of honest stories, I think. So that question is correct in the way, but I haven't gone back that far as the statistical analysis of it. But I do know the style of play and the pace of play that they want and the pace of play that we're trying to get to are 2 different things. And so it's, it's a battle of wills that way. And we've got to have an understanding of how they play and where they get their points, and where our strengths are and what we can do to counter what they do. So yeah, it's you heard me talk about it. It's kind of the same way in football. It's one of the toughest opponents to prepare for and to get ready for, and especially on a short window.
Is there, though, one common thread that when you guys have won, and you won twice last year and you've won some other games against them, is there a common thread that happens when you beat them?
That's always it seems like the media or the Mike Walshes of the world come up with those special stats when it becomes just a straight stat thing. Sure, we have some things that we picked up on film that, okay, when we've done this, it's gone good. And when we've done that, it's not been good. And yeah, we found some strategic things that I think you could point to.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Boostro? Well, back at home for you guys tomorrow, first time in 3 weeks. Just how excited are you guys to get that crowd energy back on your side?
Yeah, it is exciting. It's almost surreal. You get so ingrained, and I mean, that's a long time. I mean, there's sometimes when circumstances dictate that, but not very often in the game of college basketball do you spend that much time away from home, and not unless, your Prairie View that plays their first 10 games on the road or something like that. But that doesn't happen at this level very often, or I can't ever remember it happening, So yeah, it's unique to have been so long not playing a home game, and hopefully we'll have a great turnout because we need that. We need that energy and enthusiasm that our home court brings. And, hopefully they'll come out because these guys are playing some great basketball and fun to watch. It's been a good run, and hopefully we get the support that they deserve. And, our crowds have been great about supporting us historically when things get going like this. And so hopefully they'll jump on, and, people that haven't came yet, come see us because we need you there.
I know a couple of years ago you did, kind of a couple crazy stunts to get crowds, like going across the Boise River, riding a horse. Any thought of doing something like that again, or is that kind of something that's past you at this point?
I'll do anything that now I haven't had really much time to think, sit around and think about it. So I haven't came up with anything for this game, but yeah, maybe down the road that might be a thing for some sellouts. Who knows?
Thanks.
I remember when they were trying to turn me into Super Dave Osborne. Well, what if you rappel down from I'm like, no, I'm afraid of heights. So
you won't come down from the top of Extra Mile Arena or something?
Yeah, something crazy like that. Yeah, they were trying to turn me into like Super Dave Osborne, like I was a stunt man. I'm like, no, I'll probably end up dying, and that won't be a great story, at least not for me.
Will?
Hey, Leon, I just have one for you. How would you describe the chemistry and the bond and the cohesion that your group has?
Yeah, I think, I was talking to another coach about that today, and I think with all the things around this team and what's going on and what we've been through and, all that stuff, it almost feels like maybe the best it's been. And, I mean, we got guys that are, almost subbing themselves in and out of games, and it's just perfect. And when you and everyone's kind of settled into their role, and everyone's become a star in their role. And it has just been a joy to be around, and a joy to, and everyone's figured out that, I mean, I'm talking about everybody in our program. I'm talking about the red shirts that are running scout team. I'm talking about the guys that are kind of in and out of playing time, where they get a minute or two or three or, 10 or whatever. They're just making the most out of it, and they're doing everything they can to help the team. And so I don't know if I've had some groups with some great chemistry, but I can't remember one better than this, to tell you the truth.
Thanks, Leon.
Thanks, Will. It looks like you have an arrow in your head, by the way.
We've got time for a couple follow-ups if there are any.
Can you just speak on Air Force in just particular this year? And obviously Walker's back, and then they got the freshman Taylor that's been pretty impressive too. Just what they obviously have the win over Utah State that gets your attention, I'm sure. I know maybe the overall record doesn't, but what's your take on them specifically this year?
They were winning games, and excuse me, they've been tough. Like that win over Utah State, they were terrific, and I mean, they were, it was a 5-point game down the stretch with Nevada. It was right there. And same with Colorado State. And they've navigated COVID issues. I mean, Joe and those guys have done an amazing job. And, they're 15 threes against Nevada. Wow. Now they're a good basketball team. That freshman, first triple-double, I believe, in Air Force history. And that's been a long history. And so, I mean, that kid's a baller, and Walker. I mean, they got a lot of guys that can, and they're all doing their jobs right now. So, no, they're a good basketball team.
And final one from me, Leon. What was specifically with the rebounding with Mladen? I know there's a lot of talk with all the numbers and most offensive rebounds, going with Ryan Watkins and all that. But where in terms of rebounders you've had, where does Mladen rank? He's got to be up there in terms of just his ability and toughness to get some of those tough boards.
Well, when you're talking about a guy and you're talking about him in the same breath as Ryan Watkins, and those two, you're talking about maybe two of the best rebounders in the history of this school. Think about that. And I've had some good ones, that you can, it could be up there with those guys. And, Jason Ellis, I think he had some crazy numbers too. Who am I forgetting from back in the day that was a great rebounder? But there's, those two have been, Mladen right now, one of the best rebounding centers in the history of this school. Think about that. That is saying something.
Bob, you're off mute.
I'm good.
Something? Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.